So again, we're glad that you've joined us for this great event that brings together leaders at the city's top elected officials and department heads to hear from the Columbus Mayor, Skip Henderson. We also want to say hello to everyone tuning in on CCG TV and WRBL. And as the city manager always says, you're now watching CCG TV. That was supposed to be funny, guys. Again, the Columbus Chamber is proud to host this annual event, which is made possible by the generous support of our partners and sponsors. In addition to Paige Granum as the presenting sponsor of the State of the City, AT&T and Georgia Power are the premier sponsors for this great event. We're also receiving support for today's event from Kinetic Credit Union, Moon and Meeks and Associates, along with the welcome sponsor, the Houston Clinic. We want to thank the Columbus Chamber's cornerstone partners as well, or we have one, which is W.C. Bradley. So again, thanks for everything that you guys do to support us as well. We've got partners also at the Chairman Circle level. That's AFLAC, Georgia Power, Liberty Utilities, Piedmont Columbus Regional, Synovus, TSYS, a global payments company as well. Our cornerstone investor and Chairman Circle's partners are essential to all of the Chamber's annual efforts. And again, we couldn't do what we do without them. So again, if you guys would join me, please give all of those sponsors a round of applause. As you might imagine, this time of the year, we're really knee-deep in a lot of legislative activities, trying to make sure that Columbus's interests are well represented at the state capitol. Some of the items that we're working to continue to advance on your behalf are military spousal reciprocity, which, you know, there are a lot of military spouses that come to Columbus and they've got degrees or certifications from other states, and those aren't necessarily recognized here in Columbus. So we're trying to push for or advocate for state legislation that helps those people get recognition for their education and their credentials so that they can become productive parts of the Columbus economy as well. We are working to support the preservation of historic preservation tax credits. We are supporting or advocating for film activity. We're hoping that changes to the tax credit structure will actually encourage more film activity outside of the Atlanta metro to other parts of the state, including Columbus, because we've got so much infrastructure in place already to support that activity. And then housing and workforce development remain very high on our radar from a legislative standpoint. So again, we'll keep working through those. As you all might know, we lost a legislative giant a few weeks ago. Please join me in a brief moment of silence to acknowledge and honor the life of Chairman Richard Smith, his life and legacy. Thank you. I suspect that they're all in Atlanta at the Capitol during this legislative session, but I also want to acknowledge, thank, and recognize all of our state legislators from the Columbus region. Again, they do a fantastic job supporting us in our endeavors in a healthy and vibrant economic environment day in and day out. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. At this time, we'd also like to recognize and acknowledge the members of the Columbus City Council who are present. Will you please stand? Thank you all for everything you do on a regular basis to keep Columbus moving forward. I'd like to acknowledge the Columbus City Manager, Isaiah Hughley. Will you stand, please? As well as Deputy City Managers Lisa Goodwin and Pam Hodge. Thank you all. Also in attendance today from Fort Benning is Commanding General of Fort Moore, Major General Buzzard. Garrison Commander Colonel Colin Malley. And the Deputy Chief of Staff, Mike Dempsey, is here with us as well. And again, I want to send a special thank you to Dr. Stuart Rayfield and the team at Columbus State University. If you guys would please join me in giving them a round of applause. And lastly, I want to thank, we've got 30 members, or 31 I think it might be, of the this year's Leadership Columbus class are with us as well, led by Program Chair Reggie Lewis and Ashley Becker on our staff. They're in here somewhere. Raise your hands, Leadership Columbus. Oh, they're back here. Thank you. So once again, we appreciate you guys being here. It is now my pleasure to introduce the next person that's coming to the stage. When you see her coming, you are probably in trouble if she's wearing her legal hat. She has defended some of the area's largest private and governmental employers, including the Chamber, in a variety of matters, including discrimination, sexual harassment, and wage and hours claims, and has represented the Columbus Consolidated Government for several years. Please welcome to the stage Carter Schondelmeyer.
I would say thank you for that introduction, but I'm not sure my clients would agree. On behalf of Paige Scranum, I want to let you know how much we appreciate the opportunity to sponsor this event. Our firm has a long history in Columbus, having been founded in 1902, and Paige Scranum has really advanced along with the city, expanding from a firm that's provided simple business needs and litigation to one that offers estate planning, complex commercial transactions, real estate, family law, employment law, and all areas of litigation and business needs. Paige Scranum has been fortunate enough to represent the city for a number of years. Mayor Skip Henderson has been an integral part of the city for much of the time that I have represented it. Skip Henderson was raised in Columbus, and he and his wife Karen raised their 2 children here. Prior to being elected our mayor, Skip served for nearly 2 decades on the city council. He oversaw the budget committee for almost 9 years. He is now in his 2nd term as the 70th mayor of Columbus. Mayor Henderson has led this community through a pandemic, and he's worked diligently to represent Columbus well. He served Governor Brian Kemp at his request on the Pandemic COVID Committee. He currently serves on the Executive Board and the Legislative Policy Council for the Georgia Municipal Association. He sits on the Board of Directors of Georgia City Solutions. He also serves locally on the boards of the Columbus Waterworks, the River Valley Regional Commission, the National Infantry Museum, and the Board of Health. Mayor Henderson is committed to improving the city of Columbus. He has established and overseen committees on innovation, economic stimulation, while working to benefit all various groups of people in our community. In his 2nd term, Mayor Henderson continues to focus on reducing crime, providing access to affordable housing, growth of a skilled workforce, job creation, and economic development. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Mayor Skip Henderson.
Good afternoon. First, let me say to Carter, thank you so much. Made me sound a lot better than I am, so you read it just like I wrote it. I appreciate everybody being here. I really thought last year, I went so long, I was telling people it was on purpose so that we wouldn't have a full house. I wouldn't be so nervous talking to you, but you showed up. So we're gonna, well, one thing I do promise is we're going to try to hold a little closer to our time. And I do want to thank not only Carter, but Paige Scranum and all of the other folks that are contributing and helping to sponsor this. We appreciate you allowing us to interact with the citizens. It's a vital part of government. Also, again, let me add my thanks to President Rayfield for allowing us to use this facility, and of course the Chamber for hosting this. And I know we've already recognized a lot of folks. I'm not going to go through the whole room. I feel like I could. But I do want to make sure that we lift up our city council. That's a That's a tough job, y'all. These are the folks that are actually casting the votes and doing the work, listening to the folks that are out in the communities and doing the very best they can, where the only guarantee is you're not going to make everybody happy. So I do want to thank, if they would stand one more time, it's Councilor Begley, Councilor Huff, Councilor Crabb, Councilor Kogel, Councilor Tucker, Councilor Allen, who also serves as the Mayor Pro Tem. Thank y'all, and y'all please give them another round of applause. I also want to thank General Buzzard for being here, and thank him for his friendship. This general has done as much as any individual that I have seen in trying to blur the line between civilian and military. He's very focused on making sure that the two entities work as closely as possible. Colonel Malley is like the city manager of Fort Moore. I knew I had written on everything I have. And I'm sure Isaiah Hughley, our city manager, can commiserate with him at a later date. But we do thank you for everything you do, and Mike, thank you for making sure that all the things run smoothly at Fort Benning as well. Mostly I wanted to thank all of you, because this is how government is supposed to work. It's the only way it can work, and that is if there's open and honest communication between your elected officials and the public. So we thank you for what you're doing and spending some of your time being here today. I will tell you, and I wasn't going to share this, my wife and I, February is a hectic month for us. I had a birthday a couple weeks ago, so and it was one of those that you really don't celebrate as much. You don't typically get fired up about being Medicare eligible. But you know, I tell you hit 65 though, and you do start thinking. You know, things cross your mind. And I had a buddy that told me one time that golf is like life. And if I put that in perspective, if I just use math, I'm on the back nine. So I don't really know what hole I'm on. So that's the perplexing piece. But you know, I was thinking about it with all the things that's going on in our country and our state, and even sometimes here locally, where things get so turbulent and it gets very difficult to try to find middle ground. Even though I'm on the back nine, it'd be nice if everybody treated everybody else the way they would if they knew they had the clubhouse right around the corner, right? And I actually had an opportunity to listen to a State House representative from Athens, Spencer Fry, I think is his name. He talked about how he was making a commitment going forward that anytime he had an opportunity to get in front of a group of people, he was going to remind them one simple thing, and that's to be kind to one another. I thought, what a tremendously awesome thing to do. So you guys are going to suffer through that, because that's one of the things I'm going to start with today is you know, we seem to have lost kindness. We seem to have lost the ability to empathize with others. We seem to have lost the ability to afford respect, sometimes, frankly, when respect has not been earned. But you still respect the person that you're dealing with. So if you don't get anything else out of this today, and there's a chance you might not, I hope you'll be able to take that home. And that is that it is easier to offer kindness, to offer empathy, to offer respect, and it just makes it easier to find that middle ground where you don't get entrenched in a foxhole, but you look for a way to take steps to meet that person in the middle. So anyway, I just, with respect to Spencer Fry, I'll throw out my plea for the same thing. Gerald mentioned losing a legislative giant, and we did. And more than that, we lost a very, very good friend to almost everybody in this room, and that's Richard Smith. But we've also lost, LaGrange lost Mayor Edmondson, just up the road. And of course, our prayers go out to our neighbors in LaGrange as they deal with that tragedy. And it reminded me that The folks in Smith, our neighbors to the west, had lost Mayor Bubba Copeland. And that goes back to what we were talking about being on the back nine. You just never know. And so it becomes more and more critical, I think, that we continue to try to find ways that we are alike and that we can agree on instead of focusing on the things that make us a little different. So anyway, enough of all that. That's a great uplifting way, isn't it, to start this thing off. So we're all going to share some thoughts today, mainly on some of the same topics we talked about last year. The reason for that is that those were big topics. They were initiatives that we wanted to see carried forward for the next 3 years. The rest of my term we're going to focus on, and that was economic growth. How do we continue to try to spur economic growth and manage that growth? Obviously, public safety. How we continue to work to make Columbus, Georgia, and this entire region one of the safest regions in the country. We also talked about quality housing last year. How do we begin to prepare for this tidal wave of challenges in making sure that Americans can still afford a place to live? And we also talked about the really big bear in the woods, and that is poverty. Something that if we're not focusing on, we're losing ground every day. From an economic development standpoint, I will say that I think the Chamber has done an incredible job along with the Development Authority in trying to make sure we're pushing our agenda and trying to get in front of the people in Atlanta. Pat Wilson and the folks at the Economic Development Department up in Atlanta certainly know where Columbus is, and that's due to the work of these individuals. We were on the red carpet tour this past year, first time in 10 years maybe, more than that. And after they had an opportunity to see Columbus, we heard the same thing we hear from almost everybody. It comes here for the first time or has not been here in a long time, and that is, I had no idea. I had no idea that Columbus offered what it offers and has become as vibrant of a community as it has. To that end, Red Carpet Tour is now putting us on a regular rotation, so we'll see those folks, people who are interested in looking for expansion, looking for an opportunity to move and relocate, whether it's a manufacturing plant or whether it's a high-tech division. We will be on that regular rotation. Pratt Whitney. To me, that is one of the biggest testimonies that we're doing things right in Columbus. You can woo somebody into your community. You can entice them to come in and they not know who we are really, except for the commercial they see as we're taking them around. Organizations like Pratt Whitney, who can't afford to make a mistake in a competitive environment like the one that they're in, they know Columbus, and they decided that's where they wanted to reinvest. Not invest, but reinvest. That's significant in my mind, because they made a conscious decision. This is not only where they've been doing business, but this is where they want to increase their business and where they want to go forward. So to me, that is a tremendous accolade that goes to the Development Authority. 400 jobs be created over the next 4 years. $260 million in capital investment. So Pratt Whitney has also helped to pioneer some of the things that the Chamber has been urging, and that is developing creative ways to generate a pipeline for a workforce. MCSD came through again, as they always do, with Jordan Vocational High School. Now has an apprentice program, has had the apprentice program for some time now, so that those kids can go straight from high school right into a job making probably 60 grand over at Pratt Whitney. And that's astounding. If you'd have told me when I was in high school that I could empty out into a reservoir like that, man, I'd be all in it. So we appreciate everything that Pratt Whitney is doing. One of our biggest economic advantages is Fort Moore. Continuing to look for ways to partner with Fort Moore and trying to keep them in this region is a significant effort that's undertaken again by the Chamber, and we are again just so grateful for the relationship we have with them. But we've also got, Fort Moore is also, I don't know if I'm gonna get this right, I had to ask Josh. All things military, I go to my Chief of Staff, Josh Beard, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to call things. And I still end up screwing it up. But Fort Moore, is the proponent for robotics for the military, which basically means that if robotics start to advance, anything that goes on with robotics, these gentlemen over here to my right are going to be involved in it. And Ted Marchuba, I think, has been doing an excellent job at trying to create opportunities to be able to unlock some of those chances to get involved with the robotics. C4C, who'd have thought that Columbus would have pulled a group together as quickly as they did, and such a significantly esteemed group, to become a player, or at least on the radar, for microchip manufacturing and all of the different things that go with it. That group has already secured a company, Micromise. Prashant, I don't know if he's here, but we're thrilled that his company is going to be located in Columbus. And it is a company that, frankly, we may look back, it's MIT backed and supported, and we may look back in a couple of years and see that it was a pivot point for an entire industry. So C4C is continuing to work. They're a finalist for the Recompete grant, which helps to educate and ready a workforce, and is going to make available up to, I think, $20 to $50 million would be available in grants for the folks that succeed and come through that process. So we're thrilled with them. The partnerships that exist, if we could not access the talent that comes out of Muskogee County School District with their focus on STEAM, and also with Columbus State, with the degree programs that they've put in place for robotics, and Columbus Technical College, who also has put together some programs. We would not be able to continue to pursue those opportunities. And I left out our senators and our congressmen. There's not many boards and groups that can boast having a senator's, somebody from the senator's office at every meeting. So we're seeing some positive opportunities with development. Commercial development, I see Chris Woodruff sitting out here, and what they've done in Highside Market, Mid-City Yards. Again, it's somebody who recognizes the value of Columbus and is reinvested in Columbus, and it's changing and transforming the way the northern end of Uptown and the eastern side of Veterans Parkway look. So it's really doing some incredible things. We look forward to more of those. Midland Crossing, we've got development going up all over our community, and a lot of these are from developers who understand and believe in what Columbus is as a community. They believe in the workforce. They believe in the ability to get things running. Another form of economic development is tourism, and I see Haley. Haley will tell you that the Trade Center continues to set records month after month, year after year. More and more people are finding out about Columbus, Georgia, and coming here as a destination. And of course, we've got, council recently approved the lease agreement for bringing AA baseball from the Atlanta Braves to Golden Park. So we are. Listen, I love baseball. Baseball is probably my favorite sport. I'm one of those seam heads that can sit there and keep score and actually score the game as it goes on. But in my opinion, the significant impact of this is not baseball. I admit the cool factor is off the charts with the AA Braves, but what this offers us an opportunity to do is use that platform to address an area of our community that has been starved for development. We have a sea of asphalt out there. And what this is going to do is leverage between $200 and $300 million in private investment. We're going to bring in a master planner, somebody that is going to be able to, who's done it before, who can help us determine the right mix of property. We want it multi-use. We envision a hotel on the side of the ball field. I mean, how cool would it be to go get a room in a hotel and they say you want river view or left field view? We've got, we intend on putting single-family residential property in there. We'd like to see a mix of retail and also commercial opportunities. The Columbus Housing Authority has already expressed an interest in at least being part of the conversation. We're going to put together a group of citizens who have certain skill sets that lend themselves to being able to comment on this process. And we're going to put them together as sort of a non-binding advisory group. We want them to be able to be able to communicate with the whoever's doing the master plan and make sure that we get it just right, because this is going to be transformational for Columbus, Georgia. So we are excited. Public safety. When I was here last year, it was a very, very somber occasion, because we had just had, I think, 9 children shot at a party up in North Columbus. My entire speech changed on that Saturday before we met here on Tuesday. We have never quit looking for ways to positively impact the safety of our community. Where we are today, we have seen a tremendous amount of success over the last 7 or 8 months in recruiting. We have a net gain, which we had not had a net gain in police officers. And in fairness, most of the cities in Georgia had dealt with the same thing, the attrition from public safety individuals. But we had a net 40 during that time. We have more people in the police academy right now than we've ever had on a regular basis. We are now graduating between 16 and 25 almost every academy that comes out. That, along with changing the shifts and going to 12-hour shifts, have allowed us to go from about 15 to 16 people on the street at any one time to 30 to 35 people on the street. That visibility is having a positive impact. Crime and overall crime statistics, and I don't like statistics, because if you've had a crime committed against you, it doesn't matter if it's the only one. It's still a horrendous event. But overall, because it's the only benchmark we have to kind of measure how we're doing, our Part 1 crimes are down by 12% last year over the previous year. Homicides were up. They were up by, I think we had 4 more homicides last year. This year it's such a small sample size, it's really not worth diving into, but I will tell you we are better than we were last year. We have 6 fewer homicides this year than we did last year. And our Part 1 crimes are down by about 20%. So we are seeing some improvement. And I tell you, we have probably the best public safety, group of public safety leaders that I've seen in Georgia. Our fire chief has become an industry recognized leader. He's in demand. It's hard to keep him in town anymore. He's flying out to give talks and provide his ideas on certain panel discussions. Our warden, we don't think of the warden in the prison as part of public safety, but he is, and he does an incredible job. In addition to trying to take care of the prisoners, making sure that those prisoners have an opportunity to learn and to develop skills that will be used when they get out of incarceration, he also helps by patrolling the parks. They get in public safety vehicles and they patrol the parks to make sure that there's a presence out there where the kids are playing. And then, of course, our sheriff has done an outstanding job with the jail and the courts. And during the period when we were really short-staffed, his department has stepped up and helped us get more people on the streets. Chief Stoney Mathis has been able to bring in additional individuals. We have re-established gang task force, and we are making a serious dent. We're also utilizing technology a lot more. It may not stop that crime from happening, having the cameras where they are, but we catch them quicker, and that is part of prevention. Because if you can get them through the system and into serving a sentence quickly, that sends a message to some of the other younger kids that are getting involved in these gangs that it may be a better way spend their time. So we're going to continue to work, but it hadn't changed. We still need the help of the neighborhoods. We still have to have that communication. Columbus, Georgia, and I'll say it, Columbus, Georgia is a safe city. We have pockets, though, that are not safe. And these are the same pockets that are dealing with food deserts, dealing with health issues, or access to health care problems, dealing with, and I did mention David Lewis. I saw him here, our superintendent. He has done an incredible job with our school system. But he'll tell you that in these same pockets, people are hurting. And so we're going to continue to try to work with the neighborhoods and make sure that we're getting the information that we need to be able to keep them safe. Talk about poverty. The city council, I have to give them credit. They have been aggressive in trying to do whatever they can to try to increase or enhance our ability to cut down on poverty. They committed a sum of money to the United Way in 2025 to create a vice president of poverty. Very similar to what Pat Frey has done so well with Home for Good, is they've got somebody now that every morning when they wake up, they're looking for ways to try to make a difference and move the needle. The poverty bucket is a big bucket. Everything that happens in Columbus that deals with some challenges, whether it is health, whether it is mental health, whether it's poverty, or some of the other items, they all pour into and pull out of the poverty bucket. The affordable housing, that continues to be a struggle. And it's a struggle all across the state. I know we have a task force at the state level that is working on it right now with representatives of ACCG, GMA, and we've got some of the state legislators are on that committee, as are realtors and builders. And they're looking for ways to incentivize communities to take another look at their zoning practices, to figure out if they want to put higher density. And in exchange for that, they're making some funds available through grant programs that will help allow folks to get into some of these houses that right now they're sort of shut out of. We do have some initiatives that are going extremely well in Columbus. Elliott's Walk, NeighborWorks Columbus, First Baptist partnered with that. It's another public-private partnership in Columbus, which is no big surprise, but those are awesome homes, and they're at an affordable rate. And then we got the Ralston back online, so some of the folks that are the seniors and have some kind of developmental disability or physical disability, they have access now to a place that they can stay. We didn't mention quality of life, but I tell you, the quality of life in Columbus it's ever improving, I think, because of people like the folks that are in this room. A couple of things that I wanted to point out and urge you to support. Yala had the Rush, I think it's called Rush South Music Festival. If you didn't go to that, man, you missed it. So if they do it again this year, I would heartily recommend you go to Carrie Beth Wallace, who has been serving as a sort of a liaison between the mayor's office and the arts community. They're going to do a big arts month in April, so kind of keep your eyes open for that. And Z Lawrence, A.Z. Lawrence, she's been pushing MEC, Music Entertainment Council, for about 3 years now. And we're in the process of evaluating whether or not we are going to do a study to determine how to turn music into an economic driver. So we're seeing some good things. I'll tell you, though, that there's a lot of challenges we still have, things we have to get better at. We continue to push to try to improve from a public safety standpoint, from a business-friendly community. Georgia's, once again, the top state to do business in. Well, Columbus, Georgia needs to set as a goal that we're the top city in Georgia to do business in. And that means we've got to improve. We understand that. We've got to continue to look for ways to automate, continue to ways to be more consumer friendly. And we need to ask the end user, we need to ask the business people what they need to see out of the city government to be able to move quicker towards where they're trying to go. So we're going to continue to work on that. Phone is buzzing. I think I've hit my limit that I allotted myself on time. But I I just want to tell you, I'm looking forward to the questions. I know the Chamber's been collecting questions. I just want to thank you again so much for being here, what you mean to Columbus. And we have a lot of momentum in a lot of different areas. So now I guess it's my turn to introduce Ms. Carolyn Bermudez, who is the new chair of the chamber. Y'all please give her a round. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ooh, this is really, thank you, Mayor Henderson. Well, this is challenging because I think you've answered all the questions. I have. But I do have a few just to follow up on some of the comments you've made. You talked about public safety and the pockets that still exist. So what would you say you need from the business communities to help you somewhat deal with those challenging pockets?
You know, I think first and foremost, we just have to have open communication. We have to be able to communicate with the business owners and get from them information. If they see something, say something. Another thing recently that we've been awarded a $1.6 million grant from the governor's office. I think it's called Fuchsia's, F-U-S-C-U-S. But it's a technology that allows us to invite residential individuals as well as commercial places to opt in for real-time viewing of what their cameras are picking up. So if there's something going on, they don't keep them on all the time, but if they see something that, or they get a call in the neighborhood, they can access immediately those cameras. And the technology with the cameras has changed so much. If they get a description, somebody in a red car with a white hat just committed a crime, they can use the software and filter out every vehicle that doesn't have somebody with a white hat and isn't red. We've actually made very quick arrests by being able to access that. So if you own a business, if the business community has cameras, all you have to do is go online and you sign up to opt in, and they'll be able to see that real time.
Okay. So we've all heard the saying that high tide raises all boats, but we know that's not always the case, and you talked about poverty. So what improvements are you making aimed at those communities that are not rising with the tides?
Well, you know, one of the things the government needs to do is be available to try to provide in-kind resources and try to partner with the individual organizations that are trying to make a difference. I'll tell you a couple places where we just didn't succeed that I haven't given up on. We're going to continue to work on. We put together a couple of commissions that were designed to attack some of the root causes of poverty. We talked about a health commission, and we put that in place. And that is, for various reasons, it didn't have the impact that I believe it can have. Because one of the things it can do is it can go on location. And we've got some tremendous hospital partners, and they have mobile units. You know, we've got Valley Healthcare, we've got Piedmont, St. Francis, we've got Mercy Med. All of these can go to these individuals and start providing access to quality health care. Food Mill has a vehicle that they take. It's sort of a rolling farmers market. We need to be able to go out there and try to provide healthier food for these folks too.
Okay. So you've discussed some of the projects that have occurred. You talked about the Pratt Whitney and the C4C announcement. Is there any other major projects that are on the horizon that you can share information about?
I mean, we mentioned the one at the South Commons redevelopment that we're going to be working on. There's a lot of big infrastructure projects that we're working on right now. This community has been so aggressive at trying to provide the resources to be able to fix some of our challenges. The money we get from DOT is not nearly enough to repave the streets. Well, through a SPLOST, we're going to be able to repave about 28 miles of roads. We have a couple of other big projects. We just started the construction process with the judicial building, and that should be completed sometime around 2026. And then in 2027, I may have my dates wrong. I'll just look at Pam, see if she's nodding or shaking. But then they'll pull down the tower, and then it'll be late 2027 before they complete, probably August or September, I think, that they'll get all the parking, surface parking done. So we'll have all of our judicial functions in that one building. We also are getting very close to phase 2 of the new City Hall. We've moved most of our folks into the City Hall that's on First Avenue. It's the old Synovus. And I think the bank is supposed to vacate in I think like in July of this year, and they'll move into an incredible facility over there at Riverfront Place. And then we'll take a couple months to get that fixed up, and then we'll move all the people from the annex into the City Hall. We also are nearing completion on the building for the Sheriff's Office. Let me be clear, one of the reasons we are doing a lot of this construction is it was so much cheaper to do the renovation than it was to add space in the judicial building. So when we purchased and began working on the sheriff's building, we saved about $3 to $4 million because the construction cost was so much higher.
Well, you talked about Georgia being the #1 state to do business, and I can tell you from being a company that operates in 7 states, we're very happy to be in Georgia. Both the regulatory, the legislative, and the business environment is really, really good here. What specific changes are you making to make Columbus the #1 state in Georgia?
Well, one of the things we'll see manifest itself when we do get everybody in from the annex, we will have some synergy because we'll have licensing, or excuse me, not licensing, but engineering, planning, some of those all in the same general area, so that you don't have to, if you're an individual trying to start a business, you may not have to go to 3 different places. You just go to one location and you can get a lot of that done. And then a lot of this has to do with, we have to become better. We had an internal audit done that identified some challenges. We were very slow in getting some of the licenses turned back around. I will make one statement though, because I still get asked that. Somebody asked me, "What'd you do with that $45 million?" I said, "Well, I don't know, but I'm going to the beach next week, and if you want to come." No, trust me, that is a joke. But the $45 million that was erroneously stated as never having been deposited. Our folks were showing deposit slips, canceled checks, and everything. So we did ask a third party, an impartial third party, to come in and either validate or refute. I mean, we wanted the truth. If it's missing or if it wasn't deposited, we need to know that. But if it was, the public needs to know that it has been deposited. But that doesn't mean we don't have things we've got to do. We've got to get more automated. We've got to make it a more seamless process. And if we're going to really become what we want to become as far as a business-friendly community, we've got to get better at that particular piece. And we are. I know the city manager and his folks have talked, and we all recognize that's why we do an audit, is to uncover the things that we could do better. And we found a few things that we can do better, and we're going to do them. There'll be new processes put in place before the end of this year.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think I have anything else. You covered so much in your speech. That was really good. So thank you so much, Mayor, for taking the time, and thank you for your transparency.
No, I appreciate it. Before I leave, I do this all the time. Eddie Lowe yesterday at breakfast had to hit me and say, "Man, you forgot your wife." So let me, before we leave, just say that nobody does this, nobody gets involved in any kind of elected service without a strong home team, and I've got the strongest because I'm a heavier lift. But my son and his wife, and my wife and my sister are over there, and my staff. So I have to give them all the credit. I'll take the blame because I can screw up a good thing, but they get all the credit.
Well, thank you, and I want to take this time also to acknowledge my Liberty family that's here with me. And honestly, I do believe I have the best team of any business in this room. So I thank them for the support and helping me as I chair the chamber this year. And thank you so much. Let's give Mayor Henderson a hand. Thank you. You know, I was going to tell you, now I know why it was so hard for you last year. He answered all the questions.
Usually you get a standing ovation when they announce you, but you got one as you were coming off. You are doing something right. Carolyn, thank you, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. And Carolyn Bermudez, in her first official role as 2024 Chamber Chair, has given y'all some time back in your day. Doing it. Listen, before we leave today, I also want to recognize, and this is hard to do once you start the floodgates of recognizing people, but I also want to recognize Calvin Smyrie is here with us today. Calvin, the Dean Emeritus of the delegation, who is now a delegate to the United Nations. Good to be with you today, sir. Also, Christopher Kelly is here from Sanford Bishop's office as well, and good to see you again, as usual. I'm gonna stop there. In addition to our friends at Page Scranton, thank you again so much for supporting this particular event and all the work that you all do throughout the year. Also, our premier sponsors, AT&T and Georgia Power. Certainly want to thank them. Gerald is mouthing something to me I can't understand. Which one? Oh, and Gerald wants me to recognize any board members of the chamber that are in attendance with us today. Anybody? Colin is here, and Joseph Brannon. Yeah, that's you too. Crystal. Doug.
Doug.
Of course, Carol.
We're all here.
Big round of applause. Thank you. We also, of course, want to thank our supporting sponsors, Kinetic and Moon Meeks, and our friends at the Houston Clinic for being our welcome sponsor today. Want to take just a minute to also recognize once again our cornerstone investor, W.C. Bradley Company, and our chairman circle partners, Aflac and Georgia Power, Liberty, Piedmont, Synovus, and TSYS Global Payments. Gerald mentioned at the onset of today some of the exciting events that we've got coming up. We are very excited about our Small Business Boot Camp that's going to be right here on the CSU campus at the Elizabeth Bradley Turner Center. Our keynote speaker for that is Stephanie Stuckey. She is the chair of Stuckey's Corporation. You might know them from their pecan rolls and candies. She's got a great inspirational story about how she is reviving that Stuckey's Corporation that I think will resonate with the business owners. That's going to be on March the 19th. Also, he's now left us, but General Buzzard is going to be our featured. Oh, there you are, sir. He. Chuck can do that sometimes. In our annual State of Fort Moore, going to be Friday morning, April 26th at the National Infantry Museum. General Buzzard emailed me just a minute ago and wants you to know that on Saturday, April 13th, they're going to be executing day 2 of the Best Ranger competition in downtown Columbus. It's going to be at the A.J. McClung Memorial Stadium. There's going to be military displays, food trucks, music, and they'll also conduct the finals of their combatives tournament that evening at the ice rink. Great event for Fort Moore and the community, and that once again is Saturday, April 13th. Hooah, sir. Yes. And then last but not least, for those of you who have played in our partnership golf tournament, our annual tournament this year at Maple Ridge is Friday, May the 3rd, presented by St. Francis Emory Healthcare. And of course, we're looking forward to that. A 40-team morning and afternoon round of golf. Golf that is going to be all kinds of fun, and usually is a pretty good time. So tickets to all our events can be purchased on columbusgachamber.com. And you know, with that, once again, thank you all for being here. Gerald, thanks for an opportunity to you know, tee this up. And some great events that are coming your way through 2024. Wish you the best of 2024. Have a great afternoon, everybody.